Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the symbol of God, the cross, our salvation, flowers, the abundance of life, the circle, an ongoing process. This is the story of Contemplative Outreach Philippines, a story of prayer, challenges, triumph, and love that characterized this community for more than 20 years.
In 1985, Grace Padilla, a Filipina housewife from Makati, chanced upon Centering Prayer, a book by Father M. Basil Pennington. Grace slowly began reading the book. It was just what she needed.
Centering Prayer is a concrete manifestation of God's love for me. It came at a time when I needed it most.
Contemplative Outreach is a spiritual network of individuals and small faith communities. They are committed to living the contemplative dimension of the gospel in everyday life through the practice of centering prayer. Centering prayer is a method of silent prayer. It prepares us to receive the gift of contemplation, in which we experience God's presence within us. It is closer than breathing, closer than thinking, closer than consciousness itself.
This is a very, very serious way of praying, and you have to be content, being quiet, and being seated in a posture of listening and consenting, agreeing to what God is asking of you.
The source of centering prayer is the indwelling Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The focus of centering prayer is the deepening of our relationship with the living Christ. The fruits of centering prayer are ecclesial, as the prayer tends to build communities of faith. Contemplative Outreach Philippines is such a community bound in mutual friendship and love.
Father Thomas Keating was first introduced to the Philippines via videotapes, and it was brought to the Philippines by Grace Padilla after she had come from an intensive retreat. I followed and took my own intensive retreat in 1988, and after I had arrived, Grace asked me if I could present the whole program to the parish priest of San Antonio then. So the workshops began, and before we knew it, it was spreading that there was such a workshop, so we got invited to give it in many other places. And in 1992, we invited his assistant then, Father Carl Arico, to come to the Philippines to give a presenters workshop for the future presenters of the program. 4 years, Grace and I were invited to join the faculty, the National Faculty of Contemplative Outreach in the United States. And we were the first Asians invited. Around 1995 or 94, I was asked by Father Thomas to be the director in the Philippines. And we continued the retreat formats and continuous workshops all over. The invitations came very fast and very often, and it was amazing how we were able to do it in the first 5 years. I'd like to quote Father Thomas himself. He has been very, very proud of this chapter. Maybe because the distance is far, and considering we're not that close to the United States, he's amazed the way it has grown, the way it has progressed, the way it went forward, the way it adopted programs, the way it organized itself, the way it was able to proceed without too much interference from them.
I have learned to accept events in my life as part of God's will.
I pray, I hope, I trust, and I surrender.
Two Trappist monks who were closely associated with the development of centering prayer, Father William Menninger and the late Father Basil Pennington, came to the Philippines on separate occasions to give retreats and workshops. The late Cardinal Sin, upon receiving reports regarding the origin and nature of centering prayer, created an ad hoc committee headed by Father Romeo Intengan of the Society of Jesus to study closely the background and teachings of this growing prayer practice.
He invited many other well-known personalities in the church hierarchy to study the project with him. And so after much study among all of them, they gave a recommendation to His Eminence.
The result of the study was a pastoral letter that affirmed the Christian roots of the prayer and even encouraged serious seekers for God to incorporate this into their prayer life. Additionally, a board of advisors headed by Father Intengan, along with 7 other priests, became the advisor to the growing community.
And Father Intengan said, please tell Father Thomas this message from us. This is a way of the church saying thank you to him for all his work.
The prayer life of the members was further enriched by some experiences. In 1997, 10 members attended a conference in Andover, Massachusetts. The conference's theme was the spirit of contemplative outreach, unity in diversity, and keynote speaker was Lita Salinas. In 1998, the LCCL, or the Lay Community in Contemplative Living, was born as a result of the participation of Lita Salinas in a Leisure with God retreat in the United States. And finally, a tangible fruit of some members' spiritual journey was the publication of the book Active Meditations in Contemplative Prayer, which was a compilation of favorite quotations of Father Keating.
Centering prayer has given me a deeper appreciation of God's presence and action in my life.
It gives me the resolve to continue my work with the poor, facing poverty and hunger every day.
Silence is the word I'd like to take with me wherever I go. It has taught me to listen and to consent to God's ever-loving presence in my life.
You know He's around and He's bringing you somewhere He wants to bring you, even if it's the hardest of things to follow.
In 2001, the very first support group head training was given, also facilitated by Charit Montalban. And a manual for support group heads was put together. In 2004, we had our first Australia-Asian Conference. Madeline Sue came over from the US And our neighbors from Australia and Malaysia also joined us for several days in Lake Island Resort, Binangonan. We explored the possibility of putting together a regional chapter of contemplative outreach in this part of the world.
The fruit of centering prayer in my life is the gift of knowing that God is ever so close to me than I am to myself.
Centering prayer has taught me to be a being person.
To be able to let go joyfully the moment the Lord asks me to do so.
In 2005, COP turned 15 years old. To celebrate the big event, we invited Father Thomas Keating. And so it was a long trip for him, all the way from Snowmass, Colorado to Manila. So with a lot of joy in our hearts, gratefulness, we welcomed Father Thomas. The highlight of his one-week visit in Manila was a one-day recollection entitled A Day of Centering Prayer. It was attended by almost 1,000 people. Another important event in the years 2005 to 2010 was the coming of Ms. Bonnie Shimizu from the Resource and Faculty of Contemplative Outreach in the United States. Bonnie came to give a presenters training and formation workshop. This was attended by 25 participants, 3 of whom came from Australia. Also of great significance to the members of COP during this time was the monthly formation classes on the general topic of contemplative living in the modern world. This was given by Lita Salinas. At the same time, Billy Trinidad was also facilitating the spiritual journey tapes of Father Thomas Keating. In 2008, the COP Board of Trustees, the body responsible for providing leadership and guidance to the whole COP community, adopted a new organizational structure which was patterned after that of contemplative outreach in the United States. This is called the Circle of Service. It's actually made of the different service team leaders or committee heads, each one recognizing the all-important role of the Holy Spirit in guiding the body in its work. Last but not least, in the period of between 2005 and 2010 is the blessing of the COP Secretariat at the St. John Bosco Parish. This was upon the kind invitation of then parish priest Father Manny Domingo, Salesian of Don Bosco. Finally, after almost 20 years, COP has a home. Thanks be to God, indeed. To support the work of the Secretariat in disseminating all information regarding Contemplative Outreach Philippines and its mission of promoting centering prayer, we joined the World Wide Web in January 2009.
Centering prayer to me, in a word, is discipline.
Surrender.
Service.
Awareness.
All I could think of was the other day when my family and I were having lunch and one of the maids accidentally dropped a plate. And there was a moment of silence because I knew everybody was expecting me to erupt or to blow up. But I didn't. I just said, to the maid, just can you please clean it up? And so of course they were all shocked because knowing me, I would have just exploded. But I guess that's how centering prayers affected my life.
Many times, it was I who was not calling, but He was always there. And I think that is the most precious thing I've gotten from the prayer. He's with me from the time I wake up till the time I sleep. Any moment I feel I want to talk to Him, He's always there. And it's really such a gift to have that kind of a relationship.
This is the story of Contemplative Outreach Philippines. This is our story. We hope that it will be your story.